Welcome, my dear friends. As always, I'm Stephen Clements, your host, a writer, a gamer, and an appreciator of big brain activities in general. On this channel, I perform dramatic story readings, I provide role-playing game and movie reviews, and I get to talk to interesting people. And in this episode, I get to talk about role-playing games and talk to two interesting people. They'll be returning dear friend Peter Bryant and Jason Elliott of Solarian Games, the modern publisher of the top secret game. These guys got it in their head that they want to start their own role-playing game convention. ModCon, first year being 2026. It's going to take place on May 30th in beautiful Northampton, Massachusetts. And it's going to be a one-day con, so not a big commitment, but it could be a heck of a lot of fun. So when I saw that they were going to be doing this, I've seen a number of other gamers who are cool folks starting brand new cons. I wanted to find out, what does it take to start a con? We already talked to dear friend Gary Oliver about what it takes to run one, but if you're getting in on the ground floor, what are the things you need to think about? And so that's what this interview is going to be. Learning from them what they've learned along the way towards starting a new role-playing game convention. And it's quite the list of questions that you might not have thought of. And we cover in this video, such as defining the con. What is the con's mission? What's the theme? What kind of games are you going to feature there? Are you going to try to be a grab bag for every type of role-playing game and so not have as strong of an identity? Or are you going to be hyper-focused on one type of game, like Mayday Con and Traveler Con, where it's just about Traveler? Or are you going for something like modern gaming or just fantasy gaming, horror gaming? Is it a genre and not just one system? It's something you need to figure out. What is the con there for? But there's so much more. Where are you going to have it? What's the location? What demographics are you aimed at? What kind of people are you trying to attract to this? What kind of people are in the area that might want to come to it? How much time does the con run for? Is it one day? Is it 2 days? Is it an entire week? And how do you take the time and break that out into game schedules? When do you allow people to schedule their games, and for how long do those game session slots run? Are you going to have vendors? And what kind of vendors? Are they going to be game vendors? Are they going to be food vendors? Are they going to be drink vendors? Are they paying you to be there? Are you paying them to be there? When are you going to schedule this thing? What time of year? What's the weather going to be like? The venue, what kind of space does it have? How many people can it fit? How can you best utilize that space to do the things that you want to do? And what do you want to do with that space? Is the con going to be virtual or in person or a combination of the two? How are you going to register people for this con? Are you going to have your own website infrastructure? Are you going to handle it by mail? Or are you going to use an established site like tabletop.events? How many people can you even handle at this con, and how much are you going to charge them to show up? And for the folks who are running the games at the cons, the DMs, the storytellers, the administrators, the people providing the entertainment for your players, can they get free or discounted badges depending on how much they run? These are all questions to ask. What's your financial infrastructure for the con? Are you paying for it completely out of pocket? Do you have separate bank accounts for it? How much is this thing going to cost, and how are you going to meet that cost? What streams of revenue does the con have to break even or maybe get ahead? And as with any gathering of people in the modern litigious society that is America, who's paying for the insurance? Because somebody somewhere is going to hurt themselves and they're going to make a claim about it. So who is covering your liability? Didn't think about that, did you? And then who's going to run the con? Who's going to be your full-time staff? Do you have volunteer opportunities? Do you have volunteers to man it? So tons of questions, and I was very interested to find the answers to this. So let's get into the interview and see what Peter and Jason have come up with. Well, my dear friends, I want to welcome back to the show Peter Bryant and a man I've mentioned by name for an excellent game he ran me through of Top Secret at Total Con, the one blissful time that I went, Jason Elliott. And welcome in, guys. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
As part of the ongoing Con Report series and in the spirit of the Con Economics episode I did with Gary Oliver for North Texas Con, these guys are running their first con. It's going to be a one-day con up in beautiful Northampton, Massachusetts at a gorgeous setting, Smith College Conference Center, ModCon 2026. And so They're going to tell us about what they're finding out about setting up and running a con, what's going to be going on, and why you might want to go. So, gentlemen, take it away. Why ModCon?
Okay. We publish Top Secret, like you said, which is a modern era game. And one of the things we've noticed, we both go to a lot of conventions every year and have for a long time. And one of the things we noticed is that the modern genre kind of gets second shrift, so to speak, to other things. So obviously, fantasy is the 800-pound gorilla at any of these conventions. And then sci fi and maybe, whatever comes after that. It's kind of a grab bag of things. So we wanted to see if people might enjoy it if we put the modern era first. Part of the question actually is kind of what even modern genre is, because it doesn't roll off the tongue as easily, right? Because you can say I play fantasy, I play sci-fi, but we just want to see what can we do to escalate that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea. And a lot of folks, like you said, they'll play fantasy games all day. They like their sword and sorcery. They love their Tolkien-esque stuff. But at cons, some of the most packed tables I see are Call of Cthulhu, which is a very modern setting. Even if you go back to was it like 1920s, the default setting for it, that's modern, and tons of people run Delta Green and other modern iterations of it. And those are often some of the most exciting games that you can have. And anytime Merle Rasmussen, inventor of Top Secret, is running a game, that table's almost guaranteed to be full. The inner city games that Chris Clark puts out, those things are a blast. And one of my frequent online players, God goes by the code name Mickey, he'll play in fantasy games and he'll have a good time and he'll dig it. But you put him in a modern setting and that dude comes alive because there's a fundamental shift in how he can relate to the material. He understands the people, he understands the places, he understands what he can do with it. It just, everything clicks, and it's like he's 100% supercharged. And I think that's something a lot of people that are used to the fantasy mindset don't consider. So I like what you're doing here.
Yeah, I think what's cool about moderns, and we'll define them in just a second, but I think what's cool about moderns is that you can use a lot more of your real world knowledge. Even if it's sort of an out there modern like superhero or cyberpunk or something, you still can understand the motivations and the meanings of the people. Whereas the fantasy, if it's a world you know really well, I mean, this is why D&D does so well, because it's a pretty well understood world. But there's so many more fantasy worlds that go off in directions where you kind of have to learn all this lore. What is the magic system? What is the internal logic of this world? Whereas a modern, you kind of know that already. You're probably not going to be, well, you might be casting spells. Some of them do that, but yeah.
Yeah, I found some of the fantasy games I play, like for example, it's been around forever, but like Talislanta, right? When I'm playing in that, I have no idea what's going on, because it's a very different kind of fantasy. Like it's not just regular fantasy. It's like this crazy world where every race is really bizarre, and not to take away from it, it's fun, it's really cool. But to what we're saying, if I'm playing a game and someone says, "All right, well, you're in New York City, you're on top of the Trade Center 1 or whatever it is," if you're there, that's easy to picture, right? I mean, I'm in. I've got it, right? But if I'm saying, "Oh, you're in Slafrudervan in on the continent of Chuga, and there are 15,000 Mugugas coming at you," I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Like, okay, cool. A bunch of stuff running at me. I kill it.
Does it have hit points? Does it have an armor class?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
So we had to kind of define what a modern was for this, because I've been trying to look around and see if there's dedicated groups and people talking about it, and there's just lots of scattered things. I actually started a subreddit for modern gaming, but I haven't invited anybody yet, so might as well not exist. I'll get to that later. But anyway, so we just decided, for convenience sake, we would define modern as any game where the setting is in the 20th or 21st centuries. And so that means you can go all the way back to Call of Cthulhu in the 1920s, or you could do a Western if you wanted to set it in 1905, because there was still, the Wild West was still there in 1905.
Very much so.
And you can go forward to like a post-apocalyptic game. So some of the games we're thinking like Twilight 2000, or I forget, is it still called Twilight 2000?
Yeah.
It's not Twilight
so.
3000. But now,
No, no.
but any of those kind of things, they all fit. I think the main thing is, does it use physics the way we think of it? And, are there guns? I guess might be a way of looking at it. Although a Napoleonic would not be modern in this kind of sense. So,
No.
it's a loose definition. If somebody comes in and they're like, I really want to run this game, but it's an Old West game, and it's going to be 1895. Be like, whatever. That's fine.
Oh no, 5 years, you're out. Forget it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a guideline, basically.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. So I mean, we were thinking about some of the games that we want to see there, and some of the ones that people are already running. So obviously, Cthulhu is in Cyberpunk, Marvel superheroes, mutants and masterminds. You mentioned Delta Green already. Savage Worlds is a big one. If you want to run some Pulp, Pulp is a modern game.
Yeah.
Dresden Files, Twilight 2000, Kids on Bikes. The other thing is a lot of indie games, and especially the smaller ones, are set in modern eras. So with Hambone's game, he just did one called The Jersey Devil, right? So that's all set. Or with Joey Royale's game, Weird Heroes of Public Access, which is set somewhere between the 70s and the 90s. You don't really know, all those kind of things.
Yeah, we got, as a matter of fact, we do have, I'm looking at the list of games that have already registered. We do have Twilight 2000. We got a Weird Heroes of Public Access, which is Joey Royale, of course. Delta Green, Burn 2D6. Matter of fact, that was our first game. That's the first one that registered, was a Burn 2D6.
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
We got this Perfect Wife, Liminal Horror. I don't know. But anyway, stuff like that. Some pretty cool stuff. Quite a few indie games, which I'm really excited about. I like the fact that there's going to be a bunch of indie games there.
We've really been having so much more fun getting into the indie game world lately, especially going to a lot of Justin Sorois's events down in Baltimore. And I think the most creativity is happening there.
Yeah.
Well, and when you're producing an RPG product, if it's a relatively modern setting, that's a lot of page count you don't have to include, because you can assume that your average reader is going to be basically familiar with what's going on. And so if you're sensitive about price point, or just throwing an encyclopedia in front of people and expecting them to read it, well, every additional page is that much more of a chance they're going to stop reading and not play your game.
Yeah.
So if you could keep it short and sweet, then that's a strength. And if you can rely on information that the gamer brings to the book, that's pretty good.
Another thing I really dig, so when I run Top Secret, especially at conventions, I always tell people it's totally fine to get out your phone and look stuff up. Which is, it doesn't make any sense if you're playing D&D. Google Maps does not include Earth at this point, But if you're in the middle of Istanbul, like I think that was the game we played, was in Istanbul, look on Google Maps and see what's around you. You're looking for a store, look and see if there's a store.
And as we were looking at the map of Istanbul, I could rely on my own knowledge of the city, and that did have at least an appreciable effect on what we were doing in the game, because I knew the place.
Yeah. We had one game, I don't think it was the one you were playing in, but there was one of them where one of the players was looking at Street View, and as they were escaping down some back alleys, they were looking for a place to stay for the night, but then there was a cat on Street View. And so they were like, I'm going to pet the cat. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then the next thing I know, they have a cat companion for the rest of the adventure. Right. And I will say, as a GM, I said, you have that cat companion, and I will tell you right now at the outset, that cat is safe. Nothing bad is going to happen to the cat in this game.
Right.
Good man.
You might die. The whole party might die. Right?
But the cats are like, woohoo!
I've got a question about a modern setting game and what kind of attitude the players might have at the table. Do y'all have any feedback as to whether, if a game's being run in a modern setting, that people feel less restricted by what their character sheet says they can do, and are they able to roam more freely with what they know they should be able to do?
I think it depends on the game, so I can only really talk to Top Secret because that's where I've had enough experience. All the other games, I'm usually the player, so I don't know what the GM's thinking behind the scenes, while they're doing Outgunned or Fiasco or something. But one of the reasons we set up Top Secret the way that we did, which is at the beginning, you have this big list of skills, and we just say, your agent is trained in every single one of them at a base level, and then you can get better in some of them, because that way, if somebody wants to use the real world knowledge they have about lock picking or ham radio, at least is realistic that their character would know something about lock picking or ham radio. And that definitely comes up a lot because when running a game like Top Secret, an espionage game, it's kind of cool. You get a lot of people at conventions who have some sort of a background in something related. Sometimes that's awesome because they can teach you stuff you didn't know. Like I had a player who was career Navy and they were able to tell me things about the ship that I wouldn't have thought of. But then also sometimes you get the person who's like a know-it-all and they want to kind of tell the GM they're doing it wrong. And I'm like, well, it is still a game.
Right. To answer your question, Stephen, when I run games, especially at conventions, I'm pretty much a yes and kind of DM. So if somebody says, can my character do this? My instinct, now I will say no, like if it doesn't make any sense at all, but my instinct is to say yes and let the players do whatever and let them try it. It may not be easy, like Jason was saying. Well, you might only get a D4 for that, but I'll let you go for it because we're all there to have fun, especially at a convention. At the end of the session, who cares how everything went down? So long as they had fun, that's all I care about.
Well, the other good thing is that when somebody says some of these things, half the time, at least with a spy game, the players are so paranoid all the way through, and they'll suggest things that they're like, oh, I wonder if somebody's hiding behind that door. I'm like, well, they weren't before. But now that you mention it, that's a good idea. I think they will be.
Well, Jason, we actually have a rule at our table, at our home game table. We don't generally tend to throw that stuff out because I think, what do you call it? GM's caveat or something like that. If you give the GM an idea that's better than their own, they will use it on you. We always do. And it's sort of like a thing. It's like, well, and we'll even go, well, there wasn't. And like, God damn it.
I maintain the fiction that I thought of everything ahead of time, and that's exactly how it was planned and how it was meant to go.
Right.
And, yeah.
Oh, cool. I think we've got a pretty good idea of what modern games are, at least setting wise. Yeah. And then we got some titles that we could go with. And you read off some that are going to be featured at the.
Vampire the Masquerade is in too.
Okay, yeah, yep.
Of course, how could I forget that one?
I was just thinking because as we were talking about this, and I was thinking about other things besides just straight RPG and a bit of LARPing, and as soon as I thought that in my head, I thought, oh yeah, Vampire. Right. Because we're not running this at this convention, but it has been a goal of mine, if I ever ran a convention, to allow people to play Killer. Because every convention has banned Killer for like decades. And I'm like, I want to allow it. I don't think the space we're going to be in is big enough to really do it. But at some point in the future, I want to allow Killer. You know that game?
I do.
I don't. What is Killer?
It's a game by Steve Jackson Games. Came out, I think, in the early 90s. And it's sort of LARPy because the point of the game is you're running around with some kind of projectile weapon. It could be anything you want, like a Nerf gun or a squirt gun or whatever. And you're basically assassinating each other. And it gets banned everywhere because, as you can imagine, it gets out of hand. And people who were not playing get roped into the trouble. So
for your first foray, your first one-day con, might not do it this time.
Well, we're just not doing it because there's not enough space, really. I think you need more room to run around. Also, the Smith College Conference Center overlooks the Mill River. It's a beautiful vista, but it's a long drop. So I don't want anybody falling. There's actually an outdoor deck / balcony where people can hang out. I don't want somebody, head-tailing it over the balcony.
See, gamers, they love you and they want you to stay alive to enjoy.
Well, I just don't want to go through all the trouble of trying to hide the body.
Right. Yeah.
And your top secret experience hasn't prepared you for this?
Yeah, what? It's not in the rules. Yeah.
Right.
Well, hit up Patrick Dwyer. He lives in New Hampshire. He can help you.
Okay. Hey, that's a new proficiency we should put in. Hide the body.
Yes.
All right. So now for the con itself. What have y'all learned? What have y'all done to set up a one-day con? Because I'm sure, myself and a lot of people out there, I've never run a con.
It turns out the hardest thing is finding a venue.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I mean, you think find a hotel somewhere and make a deal and set it up, but there's just all these things that come into it. And I was driving all over New England for the first few weeks, just visiting all these places and finding out just how many event spaces. Number one, they have no idea what you're talking about when you say you want to run a game convention. Okay. They're just not set up for that. They're set up for weddings and corporate events. We tried looking at all the VFWs, and that's cool. VFWs are great. They're really good places to run these kind of things, but it wasn't quite the vibe we wanted. And so that was one of the hardest things, was just figuring out how to find a venue. And then there's no standard for the pricing either. You can go to one place that wants $2,000 and the next place wants 10,000, and you can't tell what the difference is. Why is one of them worth more than the other?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's an important point because you have to be able to afford the space.
Yeah, we were really lucky. We got a very good deal, enough that so there's three of us who are partners. There's Peter, Stephen, and I. Stephen, of course, is one of the people that runs TotalCon. He's basically there because we've never done this. We have no idea what we're doing, so we needed somebody who did. In fact,
Right.
the whole reason we're doing this, because I've been talking about doing it for a while, but talk is cheap, and I hadn't really thought about taking that seriously because we don't know what we're doing. So we were standing around TotalCon discussing it as just a neat idea, and Stephen Parentow was like, "Hey, that sounds great. Let's do that."
Mm.
And we're like, "Oh, well, you know what you're doing, and if you're willing to help, then we will do that."
Awesome.
We had to learn how to set up tabletop events, which is the thing that everybody uses. I don't know that we're always going to use it because let's be honest, tabletop events is kind of it's what did they say? It's the worst one out there except for all the rest.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a guy that we met when I was at a gaming convention in Dublin in Ireland who is starting. He's got a new startup it's called Gamers Online. So we might switch to them for the second year. But just all those technical things. You know what one of the hardest things is for setting up, especially a one-day convention, is how long should the time slots be? Are there breaks? When are people going to get to go eat? I thought that would be easy to figure out, but it was actually a lot of it's not just common sense. It's not.
Right.
I mean, nothing. There is no such thing, but you know what I mean. Right. Anybody who's like, "Oh, common sense, I can just figure stuff out without knowing things." No, that's not common sense. That's just not trying.
And I think one of the things that we fall short on, which we fall short on this for Solarian games as well, Jason and I are not marketers, right? We're not.
Well, ironically, that actually is my day job, but I'm not a marketer in this sense.
What?
Right.
Well, the thing is, I've spent a lot of my career working at marketing companies, but I wasn't the guy who did the marketing. I was the guy who did the UX. So I didn't have to understand the marketing side.
Okay.
So like going like recruiting people to do it, telling people about stuff. It's just not but we're learning. I mean, look, we're getting better. That's why we're here. This is part of that. So I was like, hey, it's getting close. We should, Jason and I were talking, we should really do a little bit of a late push.
Yeah, because it's filling up fast, but the thing is that there's still a lot of slots available. So we're just like, well, crap, let's fill the rest of those up right now.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a one-day con, and so y'all aren't going for like 10,000 people. It's like 150, 160.
No, we're capping it at like 120, I think.
Oh, okay.
Low pressure, and the idea is for everybody to be able to just have an old school kind of hang out and play games with people and not stress about, do I have to bring money to buy lots of stuff from the vendors, or, we're not doing special guests or any of that the first year. Keep your ambitions small so that you don't want to, what do they say? Don't get over your skis.
Get the basics right. Make sure the thing works. And I think y'all are special guests. I mean, you're kind of a big deal. You run Top Secret. That's kind of important.
It's fun. Thank you for saying that.
And another thing that we did this year when we got the space and we were mapping it out, me, Stephen, and Jason were mapping this out. We did not fill in all the tables we could. We purposely did not overfill the tables because one of the things that we all hated at a convention is when there's so much noise, when you got a table that's right next to you and another one that's right on the other side of you and everybody's yelling and nobody can hear each other. So we didn't cram it with as many tables as we could possibly fit in there. And that was intentional.
Yeah.
Good. I tell you what, I went to a very small con. The only time they ran AppleCon in Cornish, Maine, Lloyd Metcalf put it on, and there couldn't have been more than 50 people there. Great time. So a small con, you could still have a phenomenal time.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, not all of, but a lot of my favorite conventions started out really small. And for example, GaryCon, I've been going since GaryCon 3. And when it started, it was at a hotel that they couldn't handle more than 500 people. And it was about 350 people at the time. It was perfect. You knew everybody. It was just like a day at camp, And so I kind of like that feeling. I think if people really like ModCon and want us to do another one the next year and next year and next year, I don't know that we would ever want it to be like a big thing.
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. I like you, Jason. I like small cons. I really like small cons a lot. Like the one that we went to that was in the that was in a church, I think it was.
So that's also in Northampton. So that's every year. That's Brian Larkin runs that. That's Arcane Con. I think
Oh, no,
it's
I was thinking the other one, the game Shire Con. Because
oh ShireCon,
I
yeah.
haven't been to Arcade Con. I bet I would love it. But I like Shire Con a lot. You know, it was
Mhm.
like it was a small little con. It was cool. You got to meet everybody, you know.
ShireCon is is one of my favorites every year, and we're going again this year. Always do. It was originally held in a church and then in a theater, and now he's found a VFW that's kind of become the permanent home, which it's a really nice one. So yeah, I agree. It's nice to go and see kind of the same usual folks and just feel like you're having a day out with like-minded people.
Mhm.
Yeah, and instead of like your one game a week or maybe two if you're lucky, you could fit in like three in a day, get a variety of stuff,
And that's
and
exactly how we have it set up. So
and then you're
the
done.
conventions, the gaming starts at 9 a.m. It ends at 11 p.m. And we have 3 slots, and I think it's 3 hours each with a 1 hour space in between them.
Smart.
Because that was part of the thinking was how do you make sure you have time to go and eat and get set up and do everything? And we couldn't, jam them all close together.
And I think that building in that hour break in between it facilitates that, but it also facilitates mingling and people
Mhm.
getting to know each other, building that
Mhm.
rapport that really makes cons special.
I think they're
And
3.5 hours. I can't do math right now, but
Yeah,
yeah.
something like
good
that.
enough.
And especially with the balcony out back, which is nice. You know, it has that nice view. People can go out there and hang out. The weather should be really nice. You know,
Mhm.
it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're looking at what, May 30th? Is that
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
That should be pretty good weather.
And
Hmm.
that's if y'all have never been to New England in late May and through the summer, it's like the Garden of Eden. Now,
Yeah.
before or after summer, it's a frozen hellscape. But in between, it's just wonderful, except for the mosquitoes.
I think that's funny because I've been living in New England for about 3 years now, and I'm like these winters are so mild.
It's because you get used to it,
Well,
because it
no,
takes a temperature and runs with it.
it's because I'm from Iowa, and so I mean,
Oh,
who knows what's happening out there? Because I'm old, so I can talk about the great blizzards of Bavaria, but yeah, I mean the snow. At least we had little this year. Whatever.
our buddy Scott shared some pictures, and they got a good winter this year.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
May 30th should be real nice.
it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah,
Great.
the idea is just it's a beautiful hangout, and we do have it's not the venue is cool because there's 3 separate large areas for like all the tables, and then we have one little VIP room. So I don't know what we're running in there yet. We haven't really decided what the fancy game is going to be, but there's couches and stuff, and then there's a couple of rooms that we're going to be setting up as miniatures gaming because they have room. They're like conference rooms. We have like one great big table. You could put like 16 people around it. So we figured that's good for the miniatures.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we got the venue. We're not cramming it with every square inch that we can pack people in, so it's
Yeah.
going to be more comfortable. The time of year is going to be beautiful. It's in a great spot where you don't got to worry about someone stealing your catalytic converter.
Right. No. It's a nice town. And like I said, it's not like I like that we're not doing it in a hotel or something because it's got a little bit more of a destination feel to it. I was kind of jokingly saying I wanted to have a dress code where everybody had to show up in like formal wear. I don't if we I would love it if we could do one where we could say like, hey, you get half off your ticket if you show up in a tux.
Right.
Well, when you bring Merle in as a special guest,
Yeah.
then do that.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah. T-shirt
Okay.
sales would be tough because instead of t-shirt sales, we have to have a tailor on site to make a suit for you. But
Right.
whatever.
We have cummerbund sales. Do people
There
still
we
wear?
go. Branded cummerbunds.
Do people still wear those things?
I think those were only for high school proms. I don't think anybody in the real world ever wore those.
Well, maybe if you bring it back, then
Yeah.
at
So then we
least
should
the
do prom
gamers
con.
will.
Then we'll do a con
Right.
that's only
Oh,
about like going to a prom.
Only about
Wow.
social drama stuff. Oh, that
could-
would
you
actually
could
really
play
Well,
be
nothing.
enchantment under the sea, and you can come in. There'll be little streamers.
Right. And you can play nothing. We'll have nothing but kids on bikes games.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I found the theme of your killer game.
Right.
Prom murder masquerade.
There you go. It's like a Carrie kind of recreation.
So for logistics, how are y'all handling the badging thing? Is it going to be like most cons? You have a desk, people go in and get it, or
Yeah, just come pick it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just keep it simple because there's not going to be that many people. There's a nice entry lobby, so we'll have the registration desk. We'll have the badges just waiting when you come in. We're not going to try to mail them out or anything crazy like that.
And you're not worried about swag bags or anything like that this time?
Nope, not this time. This is purely, hey everybody, let's get together and play games for the day and see if it's fun. And so one of the things that I've learned to do after that I've seen I really like some conventions do is to have a questionnaire right afterwards, something that's like, what went well for you, what went poorly, what would you like to see more of, what do you want to see less of, that kind of stuff. So I think if we keep this first one simple and just have fun playing games and then hear from people about what they want, we'd be better off.
And would y'all be willing to do a follow-up where you share what you found
Yeah, I think
with
that's a
that kind
good
of thing?
idea. Yeah, be really
Because
transparent and just be like, here's what everyone said.
Yeah. You're
great.
fine with that? Yep.
And like y'all were talking about, your friend Steven is teaching you how to do a bunch of stuff because he's already got experience doing it. And
Yeah.
that's one of the great things about the role-playing game hobby and community is that we do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're interested in doing this? Well, I know how to do it. So come along, bucko. And then
Yeah, it's really
that's
fun to teach each other, isn't it?
your way of
Yeah.
doing it in that regard.
Yeah, like
Because I
I'm
know
doing
there's
a thing
people
right now.
opening
I'm
cons.
working on a book that is specifically to help other people self-publish so they can learn all the little weird stuff you have to do. It's just fun to share knowledge.
There's a lot to it. It's
Yeah,
tough.
because people talk all the time about like how to make a, if you want to get into role playing, how to make a game, right? But it always stops there, right? Not very many people talk about, all right, so I wrote this thing, now what?
I don't even
And
know how to get a quote from a publisher. How do I do
right,
that? Yeah, that
right,
kind of stuff. And maybe if we start learning how to do conventions, then we can add that in and be like, here's how to do that.
right.
Or we'll just come in and we'll steal all the stuff that you had on your economics of conventions episode. And we'll just,
Do it. That's why
if
it's
it's on the
there.
internet, it's free. I can steal it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Gary was willing to show us, okay, if it cost $1 to put on a con, this many cents, this many cents, this many cents is where the money goes.
Yeah.
And this is how we recoup that money. And hopefully the two match. They
Yeah.
rarely do, but sometimes they do. And so for y'all's economics example, you paid for the venue, and then it's just badge sales is what's going to feed into defraying that cost.
That's all it is for now. Yeah. 'Cause I
Yeah.
mean, what we did is just the three of us just pooled some money, and my bank is very nice. We have our business account, and I said, could I have another business account so that we can put the con money in its own lockbox? And they were real helpful setting that up for us. And then, yeah, we have to pay for the convention. And then there's just the stuff like making the flyers, making the badges, making, the website, all that kind of stuff. In this case, the venue took care of the insurance. So that's something we didn't have to worry about. They included that with the contract. And I think we mentioned we're going to have a coffee guy there and then a bartender later in the day and a food truck outside. So for all of those people, they just require that you guarantee a minimum, that they're going to make a certain amount. And if they don't, you have to cover it. So we'll definitely be asking people, please get a coffee, get a beer, get a taco, or I don't know what kind of truck we're getting yet, but Ryan's helping us with that. He knows the guy.
That's great. And so
Yeah.
for attendees, not only buy your badge, come up and game, and also I see y'all are giving a pretty significant discount per game if people
Yeah.
run the game.
We set it up so that there's 3 slots. If you run games for all 3 slots, you get your badge for free. And then if you run for 1 or 2, then you get appropriate discount, like a third, 2/3, and then free.
And so for those going, also patronize those folks who are coming out to cater to you to
Yeah.
help cover the cost of the con. And is there any other way people can help out, like volunteering
Yeah.
in running the con?
Yeah, we do need volunteers. We have got a couple people, but we need folks that are going to be able to just go around the tables and assist people where they need it. There's not as much as you would need in a bigger convention, because we've already got somebody to run the reg table and stuff like that. And we're not going to have a merch area. We don't have to deal with vendor interface, all that stuff. If we do well with this and get bigger, we'll have to worry about it in the future. But for right now, it's pretty. But yeah, if anybody wants to volunteer, if they've got a little bit of experience with this setup and breakdown, that'd be great.
And from my experience in volunteering, in the regard that I had plenty of time to do the things they asked me to do and then get right back to gaming. So however much or little time as you could volunteer to help out, think about helping out your boys. They're putting on the event for you to enjoy.
Yes, please.
Help them do it.
Yes, please.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, anything else as we wrap up here, gentlemen? I feel educated in what it takes to start a small con.
We should mention you can go to modcon.games, plural, Like I said, we filled up a lot of the slots, but there's still some left to run games. So if you want to come and run games, you get a discounted badge or completely free, depending how many you run. And we'd really like to hear from people about what they're expecting and what they're hoping for, because we'll try to do what we can to make it as fun as possible like that.
Right.
Good deal. That's the event submissions close April 30th, which gives y'all a month before May 30th, the show goes live.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We kept the ticket prices pretty low. So you come out, and if you don't want to run games, just want to come and play, absolutely do that. We could use a few more players right now. We're a tiny bit heavy on games, but I mean, I know that always happens. You know, people buy their tickets later, but they register their games earlier. So you're going to see more of that up front. I think where we're a little shy right at this moment is just players. So if you want to come out and just play, absolutely, please. We need a few more of those at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get there because it's still early.
I should mention that I did say where there's going to be a bar, but it is all ages. I mean, obviously, if you're not 21, you can't drink. But we're expecting, because of the area in Northampton, like what I've seen for the demographics before, this is one of the reasons we liked it, is because it's a very diverse crowd of all ages and backgrounds. So if you're somebody who's got teenage kids, or if you are a teenage or whatever, it's totally legitimate and available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And walk-up badge buyers are welcome?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
As long as we still have some slots left.
Right.
Good deal.
But
I would recommend not trying to wait for the walk-up, though, because then you don't get the games you want.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, so that strategy of winging it works at some cons might not work at this one so well.
Well, I don't want to discourage anyone from walking up. You know, like if you want to walk up, I'm sure we'll get you into something. No problem. I guarantee you we will.
But I would just think, register ahead of time. You're going to be better off.
Yeah. But if you do walk up and all the games are full, I'm obligating Peter to go ahead and run something for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Go fish.
You know what? I'll do a whole Iron GM thing where I'll just sit down at the table and just make crap up. Give me 3 things: a tiger, an ocean, and I don't know, a magic sword. All right, cool. Let's do it.
Going to keep the Wheel of Blame tradition going now that Tim Kask is gone. I guess.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll see you there.
Great. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wasn't that cool? Now, I think if any of us wanted to start our own con, a one-day con seems like a good idea, like my boy Anthony Morita did up in Connecticut, and apparently that went well. And who knows, maybe he'll share some of his lessons learned with us sometime. But now we have a more complete picture of how we go from not knowing a thing about running a con to what blocks do we need to fill out? What answers do we need to decide on to run our own con? So thank you, Peter and Jason. This was enlightening, and best of luck with ModCon. And of course, links to ModCon and their social media, the Solarian Games website, all in the description below. So check them out. That's what I got for you today, my dear friends. I hope you have happy gaming and enjoy whatever con you go to. And if you ain't been to a con, find one or start one. You'll like it. And until next time, I wish you nothing but the best.